if there is one thing we all love to give and we hate to receive, it's going to be advices. We all love to give advices, but we hate receiving it because it makes us very, very uncomfortable. So the question for today is going to be, why advice rarely changes anyone? Why do we hate to get advices? So everyone gives advices. They say you should leave, you need to study, you need to start becoming a more disciplined person, you have to start being punctual. Whenever someone gives us all of these advices, we know that what they're saying is true. We know that in order to become a better person in life, we have to follow these rules, like being punctual and being disciplined and speaking and behaving well to people and stuff like that. We know as a fact that it's very true, and we have to do that in order to become a better person. But still, we don't do it. We're lazy to do it, or we find it very hard to follow what they're saying despite knowing it's very true. So why doesn't knowing change anything? I think it's maybe because advices gives us the information but does not give us the experience required to act upon it. Think about all the advices that you've ignored despite knowing that was what you were supposed to do. For example, I know that sleeping early at night is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to sleep early at night, but I don't sleep early at night. I find it very, very hard to get myself to lay on my bed at, like, for example, 10 o'clock or 9:30 p.m. It's very hard for me. I know that I should exercise and I should run and work out and keep my body fit in order to have a very healthy body. But I know that, but I don't do it. I know that I should stop having junk food and I should start eating vegetables and fruits and food that gives me much more vitamins and nutrients that my body requires, but I don't do it despite knowing that that is what I need. So the problem is not the information, the data, the statistics that's there, but the problem is that there's a huge gap between knowing something and being ready for something. Advices addresses the first part. It gives us what we should know. And most of the times, we already know those things that people are telling us. We know that. It's not that we don't know it, but we don't act upon it because we lack the experience. So, knowing what to do and doing what is right is completely different things. Most of the people who smoke, most of the people who drink alcohol, all of them know that what they're doing is harming their body. When you smoke cigarettes, it's harming your lungs. They know all of it, but they still keep going with it. A psychiatrist can sit for 3 hours inside a room and explain to you why you should stop thinking about so and so. You can agree with every single word that the psychiatrist is saying. You can agree with every single word that the therapist is saying, but you cannot begin to do it. And this is why experiences teaches us a lot about relationships, a lot more than we can learn from the self-help books or from the podcasts of famous psychologists. When I was in my teenage years, I had a friend who used to tell me that I have to stop trusting people beyond limits. I should stop being dependent on people beyond limits. And to an extent, I knew what he was saying was true, but I could not stop myself from depending on people or trusting people beyond a limit. Now I know that I'm not going to trust anyone beyond a limit, or I know that I'm not going to be depending on someone beyond the limit because I experienced from very painful situations that I should not be depending on people and I should not be trusting people beyond a limit. So the interesting question is, why does something become very obvious to us after we've experienced it? Whenever someone is giving you an advice and they're telling you what you're doing is wrong, You should stop doing this. I know better than you. I've lived more than you. I'm elder to you, and I know for a matter of fact that you are doing wrong. You would feel very uncomfortable. Though subconsciously you may know that what they're saying is true, you would still decide to stick on to what you've been doing until then. You'll begin to defend your behavior and your perspectives and your opinions on life instead of examining it, instead of restructuring it or questioning yourself. This has a lot to do with reactance. I had done a video which was titled "Men Don't Like to Be Controlled," and I was talking about reactance in that video. Reactance is basically a situation where you are resisting the advice that you are being given because you feel that your autonomy is being threatened, or your identity, the existence of your identity, is being questioned. So most of the time, the problem is not with the advice that we are being given, but it is the problem with the way that we're being advised. Once we feel that our identity, our opinions, our suggestions is entirely being interrogated and questioned, we begin to defend it with everything we can possibly gather. Another problem with the conventional advice is that it simplifies a huge complex situation into mere words, and that really triggers the person who's being advised. For example, if you're in a very, very tough situation mentally and you're heartbroken and someone is coming up to you and telling you, just forget about it, just leave it, you'll find it very hard to accept what the other person is, what you're being advised. You'll find it very hard to sit with the words that's being passed on to you. They may tell you, just leave it, just move on, think about new solutions. The problem is they don't know what you're feeling. They're not experiencing what you're feeling. They have no idea about your personality, your behavior, your history, why you are in such a situation, because they have not felt it. After realizing this, whenever I feel like I want to give advice to someone, I think to myself, how much of his or her life do you know from outside? How much of his feeling can you grasp from outside? Can you truly understand the depth of what he or she is feeling? I had a friend when I was growing up. He always used to come up to people, including me, and ask for advices. And we used to tell him the same thing. We used to keep repeating the same sentences whenever he used to ask advice for the same thing, basically. So he knew that there was no solution. He knew what we were going to answer to him. Despite all of that, he just kept asking for advice or suggestion. He came to us because he wanted to find solace in someone. He wanted to find someone to share his pain with and reduce the burden that he was feeling. And he did not want an answer. He knew there was no answer. He just wanted reassurance. He wanted to feel safe. He wanted to feel that there was someone with him in this tragedy that's happening in his life, and he was not alone, suffering alone. So when someone comes up to you and says, "What do you think I should do?" it roughly translates to, "Tell me that I'm not crazy to think like this or to do this." That is why I believe, it may be wrong. It may be wrong because the video that I did yesterday was basically about your beliefs can be wrong, and your beliefs will correct you by age or by time, by maturity. Either ways, I believe that the best advices are not the ones that gives you solutions. It's the ones that asks you questions. Like the people who ask you very good questions that you sit to yourself and think, well, that's actually true. I should be thinking about that. So, long story short, maybe advices are not useless. They are useful. But advices are just informations. And informations are just one ingredient in change. Because you're looking for change. If you want to change, information is not the only thing that's going to help you. When asking for advice, we have to remember that the one you're asking advice to can only show you the door outside. They cannot walk you through the door. Sometimes you may have to spend a long time walking in the wrong direction and realize that you were wrong and start walking in the opposite direction. But the sad part is that you might have missed out on a lot by the time you decide to walk back. So I've wrote down a note over here which reads, maybe the best advice is not the advice that changes your mind, it's the question that makes you change it yourself. And I hope that makes sense. Take care and goodbye.